Well, how's everybody doing? Got Terry Delp online with me tonight. Terry, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
You're back in Ohio now?
No, I'm in Georgia.
You do get around.
I go where the job takes me.
What project are you working on now?
It's the CSX terminal here in Fairborn, Georgia.
Okay. And what are you doing on that?
They're just doing some repair work on some paving and stuff.
They're at the terminal or in the road?
Yeah, at the terminal and at the parking area.
Okay. Yeah, so they move you all over the place. You've been everywhere from Texas to Mississippi to, I mean, just since I've known you, I've seen you've been in Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio.
Yeah, I'm going to Buffalo, New York next, and then after that, I'm going to Massachusetts, and then after that, I'll be going to Cincinnati.
Wow. Now, do you live near Cincinnati now?
About 2 hours away.
Okay. So you're kind of on the western part of the state.
Yeah, southwestern part, more closer to Dayton.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've been through Ohio a couple of times, so a lot of stuff going on with, this transition to my new thing, and there's been a lot of things going on social media. A lot of things have been said, and I know you've been following it and everything. But I also know something I respect about you, man, that is all I've ever asked from anybody is look up the facts, be honest about what the facts say, and if you can show me that what I'm saying is wrong, then correct me. But I mean, even today, there was a guy that today was telling me that I hadn't presented any empirical evidence. Well, to the contrary, I've presented a great deal of empirical evidence. And I said, do you want to debate it? We'll look at your side, we'll look at my side, and we'll see who's got the evidence. And so one of the things I've noticed on this subject is, and I can't quantify this with any kind of statistic or anything, so I'm making kind of an anecdotal observation here. But I've noticed that a lot of people on the other side of this particular debate speak from here. They speak from the heart, they speak from their emotions, and they really don't have anything objective to pin it on. And this is one of the points where I start the conversation.
Okay.
Because I look at Fatima and people say, well, what do you point to at Fatima that makes you believe that this is genuine? Well, how about the testimony of 70,000 people that witnessed a miracle, that witnessed a public miracle that was seen as far as 100 miles away, that was written up in the newspapers, in the state government newspapers of Portugal? So, what is it that you see about Lourdes that makes you believe that it's true? Well, how about 70 miraculous cures from the spring that
Right.
People ask me, what is it about Guadalupe that makes you think, well, how about the tilma that scientists can't explain, how this image appeared on the tilma?
9 million souls entering into the church. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I look back at Medjugorje and say, what do you have? And the Vatican has publicly claimed that the medical team at Lourdes has identified no miracles, no verifiable miracles from Medjugorje. They have come back and said there have been no peer-reviewed, published scientific studies on the visionaries. There's been things said that this researcher says he observed this, and this researcher said that he observed that. But then when you ask to see his studies published, peer-reviewed, not able to see those. There's been no prophecies that were made at Medjugorje that have ever come to pass, zero. And we know there's countless prophecies at Fatima that came to pass. And one of the most telling things that, because I want you to understand where I'm at, because I started off years ago as a passionate Medjugorje supporter, because I wanted to believe that it was true. And I was not just a Medjugorje supporter, I was a passionate Medjugorje supporter. Then I started to read things and see things that kind of raised doubts.
Right.
And I waited too long, but at some point I got to the point where I said, I need to know the answer. I need to know the answer one way or another. Where does the truth lie on this? And I started digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And then what I found is there's lots of problems with this particular situation, and it's problems that go beyond the fact that, okay, so Bishop Zanuck, the first bishop, organized a commission. They studied the apparitions, made their report back to him, and the judgment that they came back with, and you found this in your research, and what you said was correct. They did not say the strongest condemnation, which is the non-supernatural nature of the apparitions has been established. That is the strongest condemnation. They didn't go that far, but they did say that the supernatural nature of the apparitions has not been established. Now, what's really striking about that is that that was almost 10 years after the apparitions had began. Then shortly after that, Bishop Zanuck organized a second commission to look at it again. And that second commission came back with the same finding. Then in 1991, the next bishop, Bishop Perrick, who was the successor to Bishop Zanuck, he organized a commission. They came back again with the same finding. This was the third time. Then Bishop Perrick, and this is contrary to what you'll hear from Deeper Truth, they actually, what they say about this is absolutely false. They say that the Vatican stepped in and took the investigation away from Bishop Perrick. Actually, exactly the opposite happened. Bishop Perrick went to the Vatican and sought their help. Said, we're getting 4 million pilgrims here a year. This is too big for us. Our little diocese can't handle that many travelers. We don't have the resources. They asked the Vatican to step in. Can you help us? So the Vatican stepped in and they said, okay, the way to decide this is let's get a commission of all the bishops in Yugoslavia. Now, at this point, Yugoslavia was still a thing. It is a thing. It's been broken. It's broken up. But Yugoslavia was still a thing. And Bosnia-Herzegovina was part of Yugoslavia. So they got all the Yugoslavian bishops together, 20 of them. And they said, study this thing and rule on it, okay? And Terry, out of 20 bishops, now this is not just in the Diocese of Mostar now, this is nationwide. 20 bishops nationwide, there was one abstention. So there was one bishop that declined to vote out of 20. The other 19 ruled against the supernatural nature of the apparitions. So you've now had 4 commissions. So then what happened next, according to the natural progression of things, because first Medjugorje started out as a local thing. This was something that affected the Diocese of Mostar. Then it became a nationwide thing. Then it grew into a global thing. So at this point in 2010, at the request of Bishop Carrick, the Vatican stepped in and decided to do their own investigation. And they appointed a commission called the Ruini Commission. And the Ruini Commission, and I've got an article here. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on, I got to put my eyes on. I can't see. It's so depressing to get old. I got to tell you, getting old is so depressing. Okay, so can you see what I got my mouse on here on these yellow letters here?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so let me bring this up. Okay. So the Ruini report, basically the Pope, and it was originally instigated by Benedict XVI, who later, abdicated the papacy, stepped down, and Francis took over as Pope. So they commissioned Cardinal Ruini to run this commission. And basically they were to come back and they were to study the apparitions, study the visionaries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and issue their report. Now, the Ruini report, we'll get into it in a minute, was a very, very strange and conflicting document. It's very contradictory document. In fact, in the Ruini report, they basically say that at least one of the visionaries has no credibility. They said the visionaries are spiritually immature, and that one of them, it even suggested that he's immoral and has no credibility, that the visionaries are going through the motions, that they're acting, and that they're addicted to repetition and money. At the same token, we think you should believe the first 7 apparitions. It's crazy. So this is Pope Francis talking about the Ruini report and how it was received. So I want you to see that what I did here, this is an actual screen capture. And I went back and I highlighted this part. So the only thing I added here was the yellow highlight. But this is an actual screen capture from the Catholic News Agency, and this was their article. So I didn't type this up, I just captured the screen, okay? And then all I did was I just used the yellow highlight to focus on this part to make it easier to read. But this is Pope Francis talking about how the Ruini report was received. He says, a congregation for the doctrine of the faith, and that's who will rule on this,
Right.
Expressed doubts about the phenomenon and about the Ruini report, considered an authoritative contribution to be compared with other opinions and reports. So this says 2 things. First of all, the Ruini report is a report to be compared with other opinions, other reports. It has no more weight than any other report. All right. And the second thing, it was very poorly received by the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith. And later, I'm going to show you that it was even more harshly received in some ways by the Pope. In fact, the Pope said, this is interesting, the Pope said the first 7 apparitions, which took place between June 24th, 1981 and July 3rd, 1981, he said those 7 apparitions need to be further studied. He did not approve them, but he didn't condemn them. He said they need to be further studied. And that's why he sent, one of the reasons why he sent Bishop Hoser to Medjugorje. All right. Then he said something very strong, Terry. He said, as for the rest of the apparitions, from number 8 forward, he said, this is not the mother of Jesus. I prefer the mother of Jesus as a Madonna and not as a postal service delivering daily messages. He said, these apparitions don't have much value. This is the Pope saying this. So I don't know that you can get much stronger than that. So I want to talk in detail about 3 false claims that they're making about the Ruini report. I want to get right into this. These are 3 claims that they're making that are untrue. And the first is that it constitutes an approval accepted by the Vatican. This article proves that that's not true. The Ruini report is an opinion. It is a suggestion that those 7 apparitions be approved, but it means absolutely nothing unless the recommendations of the Ruini report are codified by the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith and or the Pope. Now, if the Pope were to say, hey, the Ruini report, I approve it, I sign off on it, and attach his signature to it, it's approved tonight. If he were to do that, okay? Now, and these guys are free to believe that he's going to do that at some point, okay? And if he does, then the Ruini report constitutes an approval of the apparitions, at least 7 of them, of Medjugorje. All right. All I have said, all I had asked of them is stop claiming that that has already happened. All right. And that's why I handed the ball off to you and I said, I want you to research this, Terry. Now, from your research, has Medjugorje been approved?
No,
it has not. So what they're saying is that what they're making is they're making an untrue statement.
right. Well, so, and when you research the matter and you start seeing all of the documentations that, you know, kind of show that what it looks like happened was, because it was a small diocese, they didn't have a bishop, and the Franciscans pretty much had the ecclesial authority in the area at that time. And but when they started, that diocese started getting, then before these alleged apparitions, when the diocese started to grow, they appointed a bishop there. And so there was a territorial dispute between the diocesan bishop and priests and the Franciscans, who had up until that time had the authority. So by looking at the evidence, now I'm kind of reading between the lines when I say this, it looks like this apparition was manufactured in order to help the Franciscans, because all of the Franciscans were the ones promoting this and backing it up, and the diocesan bishop and priests were saying, "No, this don't look valid." But then money came into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And after the territorial dispute, you know, they're trying to get this so-called apparition off the ground, and it started making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you look at it, all of the so-called seers are millionaires now. And what the Vatican has put out is it's a little confusing, and because I was reading up on it, and it's a little confusing because the Vatican has allowed for pilgrimages to Medjugorje, but you're not supposed to meet in a place that takes for granted that these visions are you know, real or right. True. You're not right. Supposed to frequent you know, stores that promote that, you know, promote that these visions are from the Blessed Virgin Mary. Right. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of confusing until you start really digging deeper into it and reading about it. Now,
let me address your points one at a time. The first point that you made is it's actually pretty astounding, because the conclusion that you came to is correct, It took me reading Donald Foley's 400-page book to fully understand what you just enunciated that you found on your own, which is pretty astounding. But this springs from a territorial dispute between the Franciscans, the old guard Franciscans, and the new kids in town. The element that's missing there is that the reason why this Franciscan group became so territorial is because there was some deep-seated corruption inside that mass, and this bishop was starting to expose that. So the apparitions, in many ways, were kind of a way of undermining his authority within his own diocese. And there was a lot of really, really bad stuff going on. 4 of those Franciscan priests. Now, what I like is the good fruits argument. I like to counter this because you've heard that argument. Well, look at the fruits. Look at the good fruits. Jesus said, you judge a tree by its fruits. Donald Foley in his book points out that they really take that out of context, because when Jesus is talking, he's talking about people. He's not talking about events. He's not talking about places. He's talking about people. He said, judge them by their fruits. This is what Jesus says. You will know them by their fruits. These are Jesus' words, okay? Not you will know it by its fruits. You will know them by their fruits. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit. Neither can a bad tree produce good fruit. So what Jesus is saying is, Jesus isn't saying, judge the apparitions of Medjugorje by the fruits, the conversions, the people going to confession. That's a completely out of context interpretation of what Jesus is saying. A fair interpretation would be, judge the visionaries and the people around them by their fruits. And that's in a totally different conversation. And that's a conversation that the pro-Medjugorje people don't want to get into. Why? Because it doesn't look very good for them. The first point that you brought up correctly is they're all multimillionaires. They live in smart houses in gated communities, with tennis courts, manicured landscaping. Jackoff, the visionary, lives in the suburbs of Boston in a house valued at $1 million. Now, contrast that with the apparitions that we talked about earlier, that Bernadette, okay? There was a scene in the movie Song of Bernadette where her brother accepted a small coin. Somebody gave her brother a small coin as payment, as a reward for escorting the pilgrims down and showing them where the grotto is. When Bernadette found about this, she grabbed her brother and walked him back and made him return that coin. One coin. Contrast that with the millionaires in Medjugorje.
Right.
Contrast the destitute nature of Juan Diego, the visionary at Guadalupe, with the millionaires at Medjugorje. Same thing with Lucia and Jacinta and Francisco at Fatima. So that's the contrast there. But the second thing, let's talk about the inner circle of people around the visionaries. All right, the spiritual advisors, the priests who were the spiritual advisors of the visionaries. All 4 of them have been defrocked and excommunicated for sexual sins and for conjuring up demons. I'm not making this up, okay? One of them was driven out of Bosnia. He was driven out of the country by Cardinal Ratzinger, who later became Pope Benedict XVI. He threw him out of the country, okay? One of those former priests now is fully into the occult, into the New Age, and has a primetime radio show where he promotes all kinds of occult New Age stuff, including stories about aliens from other planets and all kinds of stuff. One of those priests, the charges that was brought up against this priest, including, listen to this, Terry, molesting the pilgrims. He was sexually molesting the pilgrims to Medjugorje. This is the inner circle of priests that these Franciscans were talking about that were supporting the visionaries. All right. Now let's talk about the visionaries themselves. Even the Ruini report says that Ivan has no credibility whatsoever, says that all of the visionaries are spiritually immature, says that they're addicted to money, they're addicted to repetition. And Vitska, one of the apparitions, I know have you seen the famous video where the guy poked his fingers at her? Did you see that video?
No, I just really started researching this like 3 days ago.
You know what? I want to find this video for you. I've got a copy of it. I want to play this for you. And I want to make sure that I'm sharing sound because you have to see this. So the context of this video is that she claimed, all the visionaries claimed that while they see the Virgin Mary, they don't see anything else. They're completely unaware of everything else around them. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a second, just to make sure that I'm sharing sound. Okay, I just want to make sure that when I you have to click that option that you're sharing sound. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to find this, see if I can find this video. So the context of this video is they made this statement. They said, hey, listen, when we see the Virgin Mary, we don't see anything else. Everything else is blocked out. We're not even aware of anything else around us. Okay, so this person is taking this video of one of the alleged apparitions, and he doesn't even realize what he caught on film until later. When he's watching his own video, he didn't even realize he'd caught this. Someone else walks up to the visionary Vitska and dabs his fingers at her like the Three Stooges, okay? You know, the Three Stooges, the eye thing?
Yeah.
Jabs his finger at her to see if she would react. And you see she lurches, she jumps, okay? Which proves that she was lying, that said that she didn't see. But the most amazing thing is, then she comes back. Now, nobody had said anything to her. Nobody said, hey, bitch, we saw you leap, or nobody had said anything, but she knew she was caught. And she comes back with this unbelievable story as to why that she reacted the way that she did. And I can't even do justice to how incredible this story is. I've got to just play it for you. Here it is, okay? I want you to watch for yourself and come to your own conclusions, but I think you're just going to be astounded by this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Even at the height of the war tearing apart the former Yugoslavia, the cameras proved that pilgrims would defy shells and sniper bullets to visit the shrine at Medjugorje. They've congregated here through bad times and good. Indeed, in 1992, when shells hit the church but failed to explode, Medjugorje's reputation grew still further as a place of miracles. In 1985, 6 young children came down from this hill and announced that they'd seen a vision of the Virgin Mary. She appeared again to them on consecutive Fridays, and the word spread. As at Fatima 60 years before, a vision by a group of children made the place a magnet for the faithful. It was said that during their visions, the children were truly in trance. They claimed to hear nothing and to be totally unaware of their surroundings. But in Montreal, Canada, a professor of parapsychology decided to investigate. Louis Bélanger took a video camera to record the children in their regular trance. But he says what he recorded calls into question the state of ecstasy the children experience.
When they see the Virgin Mary, the visionaries claim that they are totally disconnected from the environment, that they don't hear other people, that they don't see other people, that they are completely concentrated on the apparition of the Virgin Mary.
Every week, the Virgin is said to appear to the young visionaries at a Friday service.
This is Vitska right here.
Bélanger
That's
set
her
up
right
his
there.
camera and sat back to watch.
Now, they make the sign of the cross, and they begin the prayer, Our Father. And during that prayer, suddenly there is the beginning of the ecstasy. They kneel down, and they are in contact with the Virgin Mary.
If they're truly in ecstasy, nothing should distract the children. But suddenly, to Bélanger's later amazement, an onlooker called Jean-Louis jabbed his hand towards Vitska on the right.
At the moment of filming, I did not see that. Just afterwards, I saw that there was a commotion in the chapel. Everybody was disturbed because Vitska had reacted. Jean-Louis made a threat gesture against the eyes of Vitska, towards the eyes of Vitska, and she reacted. And it was for Jean-Louis an important disappointment.
No question she reacts.
Still frames from Bélanger's video at the moment of the hand lunging at Vitska show her clearly recoiling from the jabbing fingers.
Then the fingers of Jean-Louis are going back. Still no reaction from Vitska. A slight reaction, closing of her eyes. And then on the next picture, you have the spectacular movement of the face of Vitska.
All right, I want to pause it just for a second because I want to tell you what's going to come next. Now, I see that video, and to me, that's checkmate. She absolutely won, okay? But what has happened next is absolutely sealed the deal for me as far as believing that Medjugorje was fraud. At that point, I was like you, I was skeptical, I was wondering, I was like, I'm not sure, but I was open to being convinced the other way. But what happened next, and I want to provide the context, nobody said anything to Vitska. At this point, the person taking the video is not even aware of what he's captured. He noticed that there's a ruckus inside the chapel, but he doesn't know why there's a ruckus. All he knows is he was taking video, and now there's a ruckus, and he goes back later and he watches the video to see what the ruckus is about, but he doesn't know. So nobody has said anything to anybody about what they saw in there. But Vitska obviously had a guilty conscience because she takes it upon herself to say, hey, I want to talk to you about what just happened in there. And she gives an explanation as to why she jumped. So she's admitting that she jumped. She's not even denying it. But she gives an explanation as to why she jumped, and you will not believe her explanation. Her explanation was the clincher for me that, okay, this stuff's a fraud. This is crazy. So I'm just going to play it and let you listen, okay?
She is reacting, going back. After the ecstasy, I had forgotten to stop the camera, and suddenly Vitska comes in with somebody else.
She wanted to explain why she'd moved. In her trance, she'd been trying to prevent the Virgin from dropping the infant Jesus.
So she said,
What?
when I arrived in the chapel and everything was okay,
Imagine.
when the ecstasy began, I saw nobody and I heard nobody except the Virgin Mary. And the Virgin Mary had the infant Jesus in her arms. And suddenly I thought, said Vitska, that the infant Jesus would fall on the floor. So to impeach that, I made a gesture to impeach the infant Jesus to fall.
Now, you heard what you think you just heard. When this initially happened, I played it repeatedly. Did I just hear what I thought I heard? She said she thought Mary was about to drop the baby Jesus. Okay. Now, as crazy as that sounds, think about this. If she's looking forward at the Virgin Mary and she thought Mary was going to drop the baby Jesus, wouldn't she have lunged forward? if she was trying to catch the baby, she would have lunged forward, right? But that's not what you see on the video, is it? You see her lunge backwards. And even the very suggestion that it's possible for our Blessed Mother, at this point, this is when I told Donald Hartley and John Carpenter, okay, this is blasphemy. All right, and there's also another scene where the sinful people inside the area walked forward and they claimed that all of these people laid their hands on the Virgin Mary, touched her, laid their hands on her, and soiled her clothes, turned her clothes black with their sins until her clothes were completely black, until the Virgin Mother's clothes were completely soiled with the sins of all those people around them. At this point, I said to Donald Hartley and John Carpenter, you got to stop promoting this crap. This is blasphemy against our mother, our Blessed Mother. You are blaspheming. This is not from God. This is from a demon. And that was the conclusion that Donald Foley came to. That was the conclusion that Bishop Gemma came to. And this is the ironic thing, is that Donald Hartley keeps talking about Bishop Amorth, who was the Vatican exorcist, who at one point apparently was favorable to the apparitions in Medjugorje. I don't know if his opinion changed or at what point he was favorable. It's not really clear. But it's the anecdotal argument is that at some point Bishop Amorth was in favor of the apparitions. Bishop Amorth died and was succeeded by Bishop Gemma as the Vatican exorcist. And Bishop Gemma, as you have already quoted in your article, said it is an absolute diabolical fraud and it's all about money, that money is the engine that drives Medjugorje.
Right. Well, then they also, and because, you know, the reason I started researching it is I spoke to Donald and he was telling me about The Exorcist and how Pope John Paul II was in favor of Medjugorje. So I did read where, and it was, you know, secondhand evidence, but a guy says that Pope John Paul II told another guy that if he wasn't Pope, he would have already have visited Medjugorje.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I'm glad you brought
So
that up.
I wanted to say that it's possible that the Pope was leaning towards wanting to believe. I mean, he had a great love for the Virgin Mary, so he might have been leaning towards wanting to believe the events at Medjugorje, or he might have just been uncertain. But whatever.
Well, think about this.
Definitely was not thoroughly certain that it was a true apparition of the Blessed Virgin because he was Pope. And
yeah, but think about this.
If he was thoroughly certain,
he would have
from the chair of Peter, he would have proclaimed it, you know.
Right.
And he never did.
The two things that you need to note, because there are a lot of people that say that bring up these anecdotal arguments. And I knew Donald was going to bring that up, but it's an anecdotal argument. Somebody said that they heard somebody tell somebody that somebody else heard that Pope John Paul II was in favor of Medjugorje. Well, I have two problems with that argument. Two problems that I have with that argument. The first problem that I have with it is the argument that you just made, okay, is that he was Pope for 25 years. The argument that John Paul II made that if I was not Pope, I would be visiting Medjugorje. What prevented the Pope from going to Medjugorje? Nothing. All right. And I say that's a fabricated quote to try to get out of the fact that in 25 years, he did never visit Medjugorje, but he did visit another shrine. And listen to this, a shrine in Bosnia that's approximately 25 miles away from Medjugorje called the Queen of Peace Center. And after the Pope's visit to the Queen of Peace Center, they later called, at first they were just calling her the Gospel, the Lady of Medjugorje, the Lady of Medjugorje. But after the Pope's visit, they started calling her the Queen of Peace, after this other site that was 25 miles away. Now, the Pope visited that site and spoke, all right? 25 miles away, it doesn't seem like it would have been all that difficult for the Pope's motorcade to run him down the 25 miles to Medjugorje, right?
Right.
But he didn't, okay? He didn't. And the second point that I'll bring up, okay? Second point that I'll bring up is in 25 years, he never countered the bishop's decision, okay? And that's the incredible thing, is that all four of the condemnations that I talked about occurred during the papacy of John Paul II. And he never spoke against any of them. If he thought they were incorrect, he never removed the bishop from office, okay? And then John Paul II's successor, Benedict XVI, also did not approve the apparitions. And also, Francis did not approve the apparition. Now, there's also this anecdotal evidence that Bishop Amorth approved the apparitions of Medjugorje. Again, it's hearsay, it's anecdotal evidence, right? I have a quote from Bishop Gemma, and you saw the quote from Bishop Gemma because you printed it.
Yeah.
So we know for a fact that Bishop Gemma, the exorcist, was against Medjugorje, right? The bottom line is that neither Bishop Gemma or Bishop Amorth had jurisdiction. And this, according to the law that was passed in 1978, under the papacy of John Paul II, they passed the rules on the determination of private revelations. And under those rules, it is the local bishop that has jurisdiction. And only in the improper action of the local bishop would the Vatican step in and overrule it. And that's never happened. There's never been a Marian apparition that the bishop approved, okay? I mean, that the bishop condemned, that the Vatican later stepped in and approved it. That's never happened, not one time. What's ironic about the argument that they make, the argument that John Carpenter makes, is he claims that the Vatican stepped in and took the investigation away from Bishop Perrick. That's absolutely false. It's documented false, and I've showed you the documentation of that. Bishop Perrick asked the Vatican to step in. He asked for their help, okay? And that was in 2010. Bishop Perrick remained the bishop of Mostar until 2020, when he retired voluntarily on his own. So Bishop Perrick could have been bishop of Mostar as long as he wanted to. So if he was in such bad standing with the Vatican, wouldn't they have removed him from that position? Okay. The ironic thing, Terry, the ironic thing about what John Carpenter says about the Vatican stepping in to overrule the bishop is that it didn't happen in that case, but it did happen in this case. Or can you still see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This again, this is an unaltered screenshot. Okay.
I read this. I read this already. Yeah.
But I know, but I want you to be clear that what you're looking at is two unaltered screenshots. I haven't created anything here. All I did was
yeah, no, that sentence was made. So like I was saying, it was a little confusing when I first started researching it, because the Vatican approved for dioceses to make pilgrimages or organize pilgrimages to Medjugorje, but this statement was in that don't promote alleged apparitions connected to, you know, the Lady of All Nations. Don't promote the
Lady of All Nations is separate. This has to do with Amsterdam.
Oh, this Amsterdam. Okay.
Yeah, this is Amsterdam, but I'm bringing this up to make a point, okay? To make a point of John Carpenter's hypocrisy. Because John Carpenter is talking about in Medjugorje, he's making the claim that the Vatican stepped in and overruled the bishop, and it's false, okay?
Right.
But what he is claiming there, the Vatican overruling the bishop, actually did happen in the case of the apparitions at Amsterdam. The bishop, Bishop Punt, in 2002, attempted to declare the apparitions of Amsterdam true, and the Vatican stepped in, the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith stepped in and said, oh, no, 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 no. We condemn this. The condemnation stands, and you see the headline. Don't promote the alleged apparitions connected to Our Lady of All Nations. They issued a binding resolution on the church. This is binding under penalty of sin. Do not promote this. This apparition is condemned. Okay? So now, to willfully promote Our Lady of All Nations is a mortal sin. If you're doing so with, deliberate knowledge and consent. Well, I mean, right here, look at this. Deeper Truth, Our Lady of All Nations, Part 3. Now, you can make the argument of ignorance. You can make the argument of ignorance and say that, well, maybe he didn't know about the congregation's condemnation from just 5 months earlier. The condemnation had been handed down just 5 months earlier. Then I would make the argument that this man is being touted as an expert on Marian apparitions. I was able to find that there was a condemnation of these apparitions and he was not. To me, that nullifies him as a so-called expert on apparitions. So he is either one of two things. He's either incompetent or in direct defiance of the church. One of the two. All right. And either way, he needs to be relieved of his duty as a spokesman for Deeper Truth on Marian apparitions because he can't get his facts straight. And if it was just one mistake, okay, I'm trying feel free to step in at any point that you feel I'm being unfair here, because if this was an honest mistake, fine. This was a year ago. Where's the retraction? Where's the apology? If John Carpenter were to come out tonight and say, hey, I made a mistake. You see on here where it says 11 months ago, okay, that was 2 months ago that I published this. So it's now 13 months ago. If he were to come out tonight and say, hey, I goofed. I didn't realize these were condemned. I apologize. We're going to erase all shows regarding to Our Lady of All Nations. I would then say, okay, you know what? Everybody makes mistakes. You made a mistake. You took the hit. You corrected the record. All right. But now there's no question that it's heresy. Now you can't say it's a mistake, because if you said something, Terry, if I'm teaching something that is doctrinally at odds with the church, and I did it accidentally, all right, you as a brother come to me in Christian love and say, John, you got this wrong. Let me show you. And you open up the catechism and you show me, or you open up an encyclical from the Pope and you show me, hey, John, you got this wrong. You point it out. Well, then I have two choices. I'm either going to defy the Catholic Church, or I'm going to say, wow, I'm sorry I messed up. I gotta correct this. Okay. Well, that's the choice he's been given. He's already seen this. Donald has seen this. John Carpenter has seen this. And yet they're continuing to defend him and saying that I'm the liar. Well, this isn't me saying this, Terry. This is from the Catholic News Agency, which is an offshoot of EWTN. I'd say they're a pretty reliable source, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
So, this is an example of the hypocrisy that we're talking about here, because he's attacking the bishop in Mostar, where the Vatican accepted the bishop's decision. And yet, in this case, when the Vatican overruled the dissident bishop, John Carpenter takes the side of the dissident bishop, of the bishop, because the Vatican had already condemned Our Lady of all nations, and this bishop tried to overrule the Vatican, is what he's basically trying to do. And the Vatican slapped that right back down on him and said, "Oh, no, 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 you're not gonna do this." So there's been so many things that they've said on these shows that were so inaccurate, so false, so absolutely undeniably false. Right. And what I really love about you is the fact that you've been researching these things and finding them out on yourself. What did you find out earlier today that you posted earlier today about the number of alleged apparitions in the 20th century?
Yeah, it was what was it? It was like
386.
yeah, 386, 79 of which have absolute condemnation.
Right.
200, I think it was like 280 something
Or unapproved.
are yeah, they have no decision has been made,
And 8 are approved.
and only 8 are approved.
Yeah. Now, I can tell you for certain, if you go back and you look at the list of the 79 condemnations, I can tell you for certain that this one's on there. Our Lady of all Nations is on. What's that?
Okay.
Okay. And another one that's on there is Garabandal that John Carpenter promotes. And another one that's on there is Neju, South Korea, that John Carpenter promotes. And another one is Nekada, Wisconsin, which John Carpenter promotes. It's not a few apparitions here. In fact, I did a survey. You're not going to believe this, but I did a survey because Donald Hartley had made the claim that John Carpenter had not once promoted a condemned apparition. So I said, I'm going to do a survey of the last 50 shows that John Carpenter did on Marian apparitions. Okay. Out of those 50, 23 of the 50 were on apparitions that had been publicly condemned by the Catholic Church. 23 out of 50. That's almost 50%.
What year was Garabandal?
Was in the 1960s.
1960s.
Yeah, Garabandal has been condemned 5 times. 5 times. If you want, I'll find the article.
I got all of them right here. That's what I'm looking at.
So the issue here is, everybody's gotten upset. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. As a Christian brother, I'm going to be honest with you. I've said some things.
Oh yeah, Garabandal, negative decision.
There you go. I mean, it's in black and white. So the things that I'm saying are factual. Now, am I guilty of letting my emotions get away with me and saying some things in a very emotionally charged way that I shouldn't have? Yes. Guilty as charged. And I'm working on that. The Lord's working on me, Terry. I need, I still got some work to do. But everything that I have said in this situation from start to finish is factually correct. Every single thing, I've made sure of it. I've made sure of it because I'm not about to face our Lord promoting something that's false, promoting something that he's against. Now, there is areas where it's open to different interpretations, but you look at the messages of Medjugorje. That Mary was about to drop the baby Jesus. Can you imagine? I mean, there's another message from the same visionary from Vichka that said she had a vision where the Virgin Mary appeared in a black dress and she had a bloody handkerchief in her hand. And she was about to drop the bloody handkerchief in the river. And Vichka asked for the handkerchief. And the Virgin Mary gave her the handkerchief, the bloody handkerchief, and then said to her, "It's a good thing that you had done that, because if I had dropped the bloody handkerchief in the river, it would have meant the end of the world." Yeah. Vitzka is also on record as saying that all of the damned souls in hell have horns and tails. Not the demons. The souls of the human beings that are damned in hell have horns and tails. She's also on record as saying, get this, there's only 3 colors in heaven. Everyone in heaven is either in gray, yellow, or pink. Those are the only 3 colors in heaven. Now, I read the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation tells me on the wall of the great city of Jerusalem, there are 12 stones. That's 12 colors right there. Okay? I don't even know. We haven't got past the wall. We're just looking at the stones on the wall, and we're already up to 12 colors. And more and more and more of these messages are absolutely insane and ridiculous. The bishop defrocked and excommunicated 2 priests for sexual sins, completely stripped them of their faculties. The woman of Medjugorje, the lady of Medjugorje, told those 2 ex-priests through the visionaries to ignore the bishop and come back to Medjugorje and continue to practice giving, hearing confessions and celebrating mass. So the so-called lady of Medjugorje is ordering 2 priests with no faculties to hear confessions and celebrate mass. Okay? That doesn't sound like the lady of Fatima. That doesn't sound like the lady of Guadalupe. And when you go through these messages, see what Donald Foley does, it's kind of funny because Donald Hartley makes this argument that people who disagree with him are in the peanut gallery or some idiot nonsense like that. The truth is exactly the opposite is the case, because Donald Hartley is relying on interviews that happened years after. What Donald Foley does in his book is he relates the actual messages according to the actual transcripts that were taken during the first days and the first weeks, right? In fact, did you know that all 6 visionaries agreed? All 6 of them are on record as saying the apparitions would end on July 3rd, 1981. That the gospel, the lady told them, and after that apparition on July 3rd, 1981, they reiterated this with the visionary Vichka and said, so that was the last apparition? She said, yes, that's the last apparition. The Virgin Mary said so. Well, then suddenly, for some reason, the Virgin Mary changed her mind and decided to appear another 40,000 times. And the reason that Donald Foley said that the so-called visions continued, is because there were all these prophecies, all these dire predictions and prophecies that the visionaries said, well, the prophecies won't come true until the visions end. So now they're trapped and they don't want the public to turn on them. So they got to keep the lie going forward. They got to keep the visions going forward, because as long as they keep the clock moving, we never get to the point where the visions end. And so we've been 40 years that all 6 visionaries were supposed to hit 10 secrets. And when all 6 visionaries got to 10 secrets, all these calamities and everything would take place. Well, almost all of the visionaries have been stuck at 9 for like 30 years. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. So when you look at the totality of all of this, Terry, somebody would have to be out of their mind to believe this.
Or just failing the research. Like I said, I came to this conclusion after 3 days of haphazard research. I mean, researching on my work on the break, and just basically using the internet, and it was real easy for me to find. Now, I'm sure there's some people that are convinced of this or that apparition, and because most of us are devoted to Our Lady, and out of that devotion, we just blindly accept these apparitions without researching it.
See, Terry, Terry, I need to answer what you're saying here because it's so important. Because what you're saying here is so important. This is the source of my anger. The source of my anger is exactly what you just said. Because when I talked to Donald about these things, I said, Donald, look it up. If you don't believe what I'm saying, here's the sources. Look it up yourself. Read what the visionaries actually said. Read what the bishops actually said. Read what actually happened to these excommunicated priests. Okay? Do the research. And instead, he decided to blindly accept everything John Carpenter said. John Carpenter, who has absolutely zero credibility at this point. Do you know John Carpenter starts every show by saying that Mary has appeared 2,600 times, that Mary is documented to have appeared 2,600 times. I told him, I said, okay, you can go to EWTN, you can go to the Vatican website, you can go to Catholic Answers, you can go to Ignatius Press, okay? You can go to any Catholic source you can find, Catholic.org, Ave Maria Press, go to any Catholic news source you can find. I said, if you can find one Catholic news source that will back up that claim that the Virgin Mother has appeared is documented to have appeared over 2,600 times, I said, I will give you my house and my truck. I'll give them to you if you can back up that claim. All right? It's an absurd claim. Do you know how many approved apparitions there are of the Virgin Mary, officially approved by the Catholic Church?
I don't.
25.
25. I know it's 8 in the 20th century.
Eight of the 25 occurred during the 20th century. Yes. Now, of the 25, there's two categories. All right. There are apparitions that have been officially approved by the Vatican. Okay. There's 16 of those. All right. And then there's 9 more that were approved by bishops that the Catholic Church has not gone against those decisions of the bishop. The Catholic Church has allowed those. The Catholic Church did not comment, but they allowed those bishops' decisions to stand. All right, I'll give you an example of one from each list just to illustrate this. On the list of Vatican-approved apparitions, Fatima is one of the ones on the list. On the list of bishop-approved apparitions, Betania, Venezuela is an example. Where the bishop approved it, it did not get approved by the Vatican. He even said, I've got a clip of him saying on his show, well, yeah, Betania has been officially approved by the Vatican. No, it hasn't. This is another example where he gets the facts wrong. Now, is it a big point? No, it's an approved apparition. Does it really matter whether it was, did it have to be approved by the Vatican to be approved? No, it did not. The point is, he went out of his way to say that it's approved by the Vatican, which is false. Okay, it's not true. So it's not a damaging falsehood, but nevertheless, he got something incorrect. And again, this goes back to what I said before, is that we should not have a show where this guy is doing a show one night a week for 8 years promoting that Marian apparitions when he can't get his facts straight. Okay. Now, I want you to listen to this. Okay. This just absolutely blows my mind. And this is absolute proof. This is not on apparitions itself. This is absolutely a case that proves that John Carpenter not only gets things wrong, but he does so willfully, deliberately. Okay. Now, by my definition, by what I was told when I was growing up, all right, if you deliberately told something false, that was a lie. And for me, there were consequences for that. Okay, dire consequences. Do I need to go into any details? Okay. All right. Lying was something that just was not accepted in my family. Okay. So I have said publicly, I am the founder of Deeper Truth. I've said that publicly. Now, people have claimed that that's false, and now Donald is claiming that that's false. Well, Donald has a problem because I have Donald on tape here admitting that I'm the founder of Deeper Truth. I want you to listen to this. This is Donald Hartley's own words.
John Benko and I was shoulder to shoulder against the anti-Catholics on YouTube. And for a while there, I mean, it was almost like we were standing up against the world there. It really did. Because, I mean, we were getting
now or
hit.
back then?
Back then.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Since
Okay.
now, back in 2009, May the 2nd, this is the anniversary. One of the things that was a big plus for me with John Benko as a partner here is that John had previously been involved with Block Talk Radio on a political show. And so he was very informed about Block Talk Radio and how it works and, you know, what you basically do as a radio announcer and all that. And so he was a guiding light on that, because in 2009, I was in Iraq. And so he was taking the lead in getting this set up. We had previously been, like I was saying, involved with the YouTube, and that was something that we did for some time, for a good while. And so John invited me to be a full-time partner with Deeper Truth, and he inaugurated it May the 2nd, 2009. At the same time, I was in Iraq. I was at Slaughter City.
Now, to fill in the blanks of what he said there, I founded Deeper Truth on May the 2nd, 2009. Donald Hartley did not even make his first appearance on the show until August of 2010. It was a year and a half later before Donald even made his first appearance on the show. I had actually founded Deeper Truth a year before I even met Donald. Now he's claiming that he founded it. Okay. So listen to this from John Carpenter about a year after what you just heard there.
Joining me tonight is my co-host, Donald Hartley, Deeper Truth founder. Hello, Donald.
So he goes out of his way to say that. Goes out of his way at every show to say, welcome, Mr. Donald Hartley, the founder of Deeper Truth, when he knows it's not true. Now, does it hurt my ego? No. Does it upset me in some way? Yes. Why? Because it's not true. And I founded Deeper Truth to be truth. Okay? That everything that, if we have different opinions on things, that's fine. But I wanted everything that went across the air on Deeper Truth to be factually accurate. John Carpenter here is not only saying something that is not factually accurate, but he's doing it deliberately and taking the opportunity to do so. So now everything that you've heard, Terry, just the little bit that you've heard tonight, kind of looks like my anger is not unjustified, is it?
I can understand where your emotions are coming from, but as a Catholic, we
Gotta keep
are
it in check.
right.
I-
Do not let the sun go down upon your wrath.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Maybe I should have rephrased the question. Okay. Everything that I have said is factually accurate, and I've proven it. I've proven that everything that I've said is factually accurate. Now, do I got to keep my anger in check? Yes. Have I let my emotions get the best of me? Yes. But when I say that Donald Hartley and John Carpenter are lying, it's a fact. It's not arguable. It's not an opinion. It's an objective, demonstrable, proven fact. They are not telling the truth. and they are not telling the truth over and over and over and over again. And more people are finding this. The problem that Donald Hartley has, the reason why he's getting upset, is one by one, all of the members of Deeper Truth are falling away. Michael C. Benko left because of this. William Hemsworth left because of this. All right, one by one, all of those members of Deeper Truth are falling away, and they're falling away because they see that he's just not being truthful, that he's just not being honest, and they see that, you know, he betrayed me. He took the blog and the show that I created and forced me out of it so that he could put someone in charge of it that can't tell the truth, can't get through a show without lying 15 times. It's absolutely incredible. And beyond the lies, beyond the deliberate lies, are the things that they say that are either inaccurate or unproven. And they say things that are unproven as if they are proven. Now, I know you remember Judy Alciator, and she passed away, I believe it was September. Yeah, September she passed away, right? And listen, Judy Alciator was a sweet lady, very sweet lady, very devout. There is absolutely nothing bad that I can say about her, and I won't. But there is, the problem is that Judy Alciator claimed that her poetry was a direct revelation from God, that these poems were directly revealed to her from God. All right. And I used to have conversations with Donald about this. Just listen, you can't say that on the air at Deeper Truth. You can't do that. Okay. You can say that Judy Alciator believes that she has a gift. Judy Alciator believes that these poems are inspired by God. You could even say that I believe that these poems are inspired by God. But you cannot make a factual statement that God gave Judy Alciator this poem tonight. You can't speak for God that way. That's not the way our church deals with private revelation. You can't just take somebody's anecdotal experience and become your own pope and slap a stamp of approval on it. And yet they did that all the time. And John Carpenter, in his book that's trying to convert people to Catholicism, telling everybody the miraculous stories of Catholicism, he included the poems of Judy Alciator as proof. Now, the argument that I made, Terry, is that exposes our church to ridicule. Those silly Catholics, they believe anytime that somebody says that God is speaking to them, or anytime somebody says the Virgin Mary has appeared to them, they go off and they believe it. This absolutely substantiates that stereotype.
Okay, so let me kind of switch gears here.
Okay.
And ask you this. Okay, so now we understand why you are not with Deeper Truth.
Yep.
And unless Mr. Carpenter or Mr. Hartley would like to debate with you, I think we should just go ahead and move on and talk about the 4 persons and what's this channel going to be like. What's our goals?
God bless you for saying that, but it was, and you're absolutely right, but it's important to me. You're my brother and I love you. And it was important for you to understand that I'm telling the truth. That was very important to me. It meant a lot to me. Now, my vision for the 4 persons, of course, first of all, here's where it's got its name. You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart and your whole mind and your whole soul and your whole strength. This is the first commandment. Those are the 4 persons. And it's very, very important that we understand that, because this is a lesson that I learned late in life. I had somebody explain this to me. If your mind is not healthy, it's going to affect all of you. If your body is not healthy, it's going to affect all of you. And none of us are perfect, and we all struggle, and I certainly struggle every single day to become a better man and a better father and a better Christian every single day. But if we truly seek God, we must seek him, not with part of us, not with half of us, not with a fraction. We must seek him with mind, heart, body, and soul. That means you exercise more, you get enough sleep. It means that you devote time to prayer. It means that you do what you need to do to take care of your mind, to keep your mind healthy and sharp. It's all of these. It's all of these elements. So my approach with uh, deeper truth. I mean, my approach with this, as opposed to deeper truth. So you already know the one problem that I had with deeper truth. There was a second problem that I had, and this was a problem that you brought to my attention. But when you brought it to my attention, I already knew that the problem existed, and that is that not only deeper truth, but a lot of other Catholic mediums are becoming stale. They're becoming stale. They're becoming repetitive. They're doing the same thing over and over again. They're just stamping out the same. And my vision for the four persons is to edit videos, to make music videos, to make on the scene interviews, to make creative types of projects. I want to bring all the creative juices and all the creative energies of all the members together. And it can't be one person driving the creativity, one person driving the content, but it has to be that marriage of people with great content, with great ideas, great visions, great understanding of our faith, married to the people who understand the technology and understand how to, take our wonderful Catholic faith and fit it to this, fit it to this cell phone, to a cell phone app. Blog Talk Radio was a medium that I think, on your advice, I'm going to kind of move away from. It's become flat. Blog Talk Radio is a podcasting format that's predicated on the live audience. And I think there's going to be sometimes we have a live audience and sometimes we don't have a live audience. Sometimes we're going to be able to do things live. Sometimes we're going to pre-record things and mix them and put them together and get a little creative. And so I think I found another podcasting site that I'm going to be able to use, that we can use for either live podcasts or pre-recorded podcasts. But I want to get more and more and more into mediums like this, into YouTube, into Zoom, and the other mediums. You've recorded some great Christian music, and I want to use a lot of that as backdrops to what we're doing, and really kind of put things together, sometimes in a talk show format, sometimes in a presentation format, sometimes almost like a music video format, like real creative. So that's my vision. I want to get really creative. I want to tap into your creativity, because you've done some things that are tremendously creative. Or tap into your creativity. William Hemsworth is, I don't know how much you've listened to him. The guy's brilliant. I want to tap into his knowledge of our Catholic faith. If I'm here, he's here. Okay. And Michael C. Benko, who wrote that book, Masaru. Have you read that book yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's an amazing book. I recommend you read it. You won't be able to put it down, because what he does is, it's really interesting. It's a novel. It's a novel that takes places in real time with real figures and real places, but it also incorporates our Catholic faith into it. It's almost like, the only thing I can compare it to is like the Lord of the Rings type of thing, but instead of goblins and characters like that, it's real characters in the midst of the Catholic Revolution in Japan of the 16th century.
Oh yeah, he was on the show one time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So more and more and more, that's my vision moving forward is, and I'm working on a presentation right now, but and I'll be honest with you, it's coming real slow because I'm trying to be really, really detailed in it. And when I get all the facts in place and the scripts and all the things that I want to say, that's when I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to say, okay, Terry, how do we present this in an entertaining way? How, and with, you know, with music and videos and transitions and different people doing different parts and everything. I want to present this in an engaging way. So we talked about this before, and I'm real excited about where it's going to go. And you're absolutely right. It's the vision is moving forward. I'm not going to say I'm not angry. I am. I'm because people that I consider to be my friends have done these things. So that there's a certain wounding of the heart, in that type of situation. But that's an example when we talked about the four persons of allowing emotional person to get the best of the other three.
Right. And you, anybody who exercises regularly will tell you, it's really hard to run a mile while you're looking over your shoulder, looking behind you. Just go forward.
You brought up a great example because when you're running, your body's creating dopamine. Okay, your body's creating those endorphins. Okay, all right, and those endorphins improve your mind. They improve your emotion. Okay, they clear your mind. Guess what? You're also burning off toxins. Your body's eliminating toxins. If you're eating more healthy and you're exercising, your body's eliminating those toxins. Well, guess what? You're sleeping better, which means you're going to be more alert, which is going to affect your mental aspect. They're all interconnected. It's four circles that are each independent, but they're all locked into each other.
Right.
Physical person affects emotional person, affects spiritual person. They're all
Oh
connected.
yeah, I like it.
And that is the whole connectivity is that you cannot worship God with spiritual person while physical person is still sinning.
Okay, yeah.
You can't worship God with physical person and spiritual person if emotional person is still filled with anger and hate. So you got to bring all four of them to the table: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And when you think about it, Terry, in our Catholic Mass, they're all involved. All four persons are involved. The physical person is involved in standing and kneeling and sitting.
Right.
All right. The emotional person is involved when we cry out, "Hallelujah! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." That's that emotional person. The spiritual person in the prayers that we say, and the mental person in understanding the homily and understanding the truths that are being taught by the priest. And that biggest test of faith is when that priest raises that host and says, "The body of Christ."
Amen.
That is the biggest challenge because now mental person is being challenged because mental person sees bread. Spiritual person has to take over. And that's the thing about these four persons is that two have to be in the driver's seat and two have to be in the passenger seat. People need to understand that. And this is where they get their lives ordered. The two that have to be in the driver's seat, mental person and spiritual person. You got to have a right mind and you got to have a right soul. And your mind's got to be directed by your soul. So you've got to understand your faith, work hard to understand your faith, and you've got to be holy. Okay? So physical person, you're going to have those desires, you're going to have those temptations, but you make physical person subject to mental person and emotional person. You decide what's right and you act it. An emotional person, it's the same thing, right? We all have emotions. We all have angers and sadnesses and all these things. But like you said, that emotional person has to take a back seat. to
Yeah.
spiritual person. In other words, don't let the sun go down on your anger, as you said.
Amen.
As Paul said, be angry, but
And
sin
sin not.
not. And so that's my vision. And I think we're off to a good start. It's a slow start, but I think we're off to a good start. And I like where it's going.
Well, John, I am about 7-8 hours away from my wife, and I'm gonna have to give her a call and let her know I'm okay. Do you think sometime in the future we could do like Zoom calls with multiple people on it?
We can.
I'm gonna get with Deacon Denny and see if they would like to. Every Wednesday night they usually have some type of Bible study, or some type of get together at the halfway house in Houston. And I would like to get some of the guys on there and let the world know what they're doing.
That is so awesome. That is exactly what I'm talking about, doing stuff that nobody else is doing. That is so, I'm so excited about that idea, because we can capture that on Zoom. We can maybe edit it, add some music to it, maybe add a couple of public service announcements to it, some transitions in and out,
Yeah,
post it on YouTube as a finished product.
yeah.
It'll be absolutely awesome. And we can post it on Facebook YouTube as a finished product, with each episode being a particular subject.
There you go. Yeah.
Like
That would be awesome.
it could be relevant to the gospel, or it could be relevant to a time of season that we have. Like we could do one on Marian apparitions. We could do one on the seasons of the church, Lent and Easter and ordinary time and Advent. So many things. I mean, Terry, there's literally no limit to the directions that we can take this in. And that's what I want the four persons to be completely unleashed according to the creative energy of all of the people involved, to say, hey, I think this would be great. And I think this would be, I want you to talk a minute about your Facebook group, because I want to interact with that. And I want to do some live events, prayer in front of an abortion clinic, captured live, so that it's something that can be shared with other people, so people can in a remote kind of way, even if they're watching a recording, they're participating in the prayers for the unborn at the scene of the crime, so to speak.
Yeah, I started that group, Abortion Abolitionists. It's on Facebook, and if you are 100% against child murder, then I invite you to join. The group is Catholic, but I accept non-Catholics in the group who are against child murder, so long as they understand that this is a Catholic group. And so you cannot talk down on the Catholic Church in that group. But the group is, I called it Abortion Abolitionists, because I was so fed up with how big of pushovers the pro-life movement has become.
You're so right. That the I'm against abortion except crowd.
Yeah.
No,
Or,
there's no except. This child deserves to live, but not this child.
Yeah. And I kind of stole the name from Timothy Gordon. I heard him use the phrase a few times, right? And because he's on the same page as I am when it comes to that. I'm not pro-life. I'm an abortion abolitionist. And I looked up the word, and I kind of did a little bit of study on some of the slavery abolitionists from back then, and they were about ending slavery. Well, I am about ending abortion. And so I started this Facebook group, and oh man, it has grown by leaps and bounds. I've got some really strong brothers and sisters there. I would like to start getting some more video footage of activities taken to stand against
Well,
baby murder.
the 4 persons is going to partner with you on that. So I think it's going to be wonderful. I love what you're doing. Terry, would you do me the honor of closing us with a prayer, please?
Sure. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Saint Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world, seeking the ruin of souls. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen. I love you, my brother. Thank you so much for all you do. And I really look forward to working with you on this.
All right, bro. Look forward to it, man.
God bless you.
God bless. Bye-bye. I'm still trying to